Hello, everyone. Rob Guest from football.london here, and welcome to the latest episode of Gold and Guest Talk Tottenham, sponsored by NordVPN. Joining me today, it's Alasdair Gold, who has just emerged from his iron lung after taking part in yesterday's London Marathon. How are you?
Yeah, I've been better, but I'm all right. Thank you. Hope you're well too. Feels like I've got, I don't think iron lungs, but certainly lead lungs or something. Yeah, it was an experience. It certainly was an experience. I would definitely suggest to people never ever run a marathon ill. It is the stupidest thing. It was moronic of me, but I just kind of had to do it because so many very kind people had donated towards Cancer Research UK. And I just kind of, tell the story very briefly. So I was feeling a bit unwell in the lead up to it. Went to the doctors, got antibiotics, thinking that would head it off. And by the time it got to Sunday, because this was Thursday, that all started to happen. I thought Sunday I'll be fine. And my wife on Saturday, when I wasn't feeling well, clearly still said, "You're not doing it tomorrow. You're not doing it." And she was quite adamant about it because she thought it'd be dangerous, which quite frankly it probably would have been or was. And then I woke up on Sunday and I felt rotten. I felt so bad. My head was spinning. I felt nauseous. I'm guessing I had a temperature. I didn't take it, but looking at my temperature today, it's kind of almost a temperature. So I can imagine it maybe was, but maybe I was too scared to take it. And honestly, it was so stupid on my behalf. I really would state, don't do it. Don't do that. And I kind of escaped out the house because I was going early. So I ran out the house quickly before she could wake up and see what state I was in. Got to the start line, starting to feel slightly better. Had a bit of an iffy stomach, but that's a whole other thing that no one needs to know about. And yeah, just cracked on with it. It's I just had no energy, but we got round. We did lots of support from Spurs fans. They were amazing. My family did come up as well. I saw them as the race wore on, but there was loads of Spurs fans as well. A couple of them holding up placards and stuff. One lady ran out like into the side of the road to kind of show me the right in my face this placard, which was kind of half surprising, half kind of motivational, and it worked really well. And there were so many people shouting little things from the crowd and stuff about Spurs and actually a few things about the podcast as well. And it was very nice. It was just these little moments when I really needed help in that middle bit of the marathon. The start was okay. I was trundling along. Weirdly, the end was okay. I was able to kind of pop some ibuprofen in as I was running and managed to do that later on. But the middle part, you go to a dark place in the middle part. I think anyone that runs one of these things will tell you that. But we got through it, and loads of money hopefully continuing to being raised, it looks like, for Cancer Research UK. But yes, don't run a marathon ill. It's incredibly stupid.
Yeah, you've not specified it. Did you win the marathon or not?
No, but technically, I did finish ahead of John Terry and Jack Wilshere. So I'm claiming the North London or the London Derby victory in that respect. My time wasn't great. I really should stress it really wasn't good. It was just under 5 hours. It's officially 4 hours 56. Unofficially on my watch, which actually tells me when I completed the marathon, it was 4:50 because I got this weird thing. Sorry for the boring trivia for anyone that doesn't care, but essentially the marathon route officially is this thin little blue line that goes along the roads all the way from start to finish. So if you were to follow that blue line, which is near on impossible, you would do the exact 26.2 miles. But because the roads are so wide, of course you're not doing that. So sometimes you're going around bends, like adding loads of extra distance on. And if you do that enough times, like an idiot like me that didn't stay anywhere near the blue line, I think I ran an extra 0.6 of a mile, so more than half a mile extra on top of what you're supposed to. And my step count for yesterday was incredible. It's something like, it's almost 60,000 steps. It's like 36, 37 miles or something. Because there's a lot of walking around London just to get to and from the event as well. But yeah, so it wasn't a great time. But quite frankly, the way I felt in the morning, I didn't think I was going to finish it. So yeah, it's probably the proudest I've ever felt over such a stupid thing to do. But yeah, we got there in the end.
All for a great cause as well. So, where exactly are you then in terms of the money raised?
I think we've passed over 28,000 today. It's still motoring up because people are being very kind. It's on Just Giving if you want to search on there, or any of my social accounts. It's kind of pinned up various places on all of those. So yes, if anyone was waiting to see whether I finished it or not, which was a wise move to make, quite frankly, before they donated, then yeah, please do, because yeah, I'm gonna have to finish kind of plugging all that, and won't do another one for a while. My wife has banned me forever for doing it, but I think I might do one every decade. I think that's my current plan. Did one in my 30s 12 years ago. Now I've done one in my 40s. If I'm still around and Spurs haven't killed me off, I might do one in my 50s as well.
Yeah, so you were taking part in the London Marathon yesterday. I was on Merseyside for Tottenham.
Who got the better deal out there?
You got the better deal by far. So Tottenham lost 5-1 at Liverpool. It was a result that saw Liverpool get their hands on the Premier League title for only the second time. Spurs went ahead through Dominic Solanke, really good header from James Maddison's corner, but I think it was a case of once Liverpool got one, they'd go on to get a few more, and that's exactly what happened. Luis Diaz equalising, Alexis McAllister finding the top corner not long after. Cody Gakpo scoring before half-time, Mohamed Salah getting in on the act, and then an own goal from Destiny Udogie, completing the scoreline. So Spurs have got this game out of the way now, and full focus is on Thursday's match against Bodo Glimt. But if we're going to talk about the Liverpool game, it's followed a familiar pattern of late in terms of the defeats, and again, just really poor goals to concede.
Yeah, I must admit I was slumped on a kind of a seat outside a coffee shop watching it on my phone. So that was my view of the game. And there's a few Spurs fans past me. It's like, why are you watching that? Just go home, kind of thing. Don't ruin your day. But I think I probably felt worse for you, especially as an Everton fan, going into Anfield to watch them win the league. I mean, that must have been horrendous for you, wasn't it?
It was. And I mean, that was even before the game as well. There were so many fans outside, fans with guitars, everyone singing, the red flares. Even though some Everton fan had actually repackaged these blue flares as red flares.
Some Everton fan. How did you manage to smuggle it into the media area?
So there were a few blue flares going off as well during the game, which was quite funny. But no, I mean, they thoroughly enjoyed the moment. They've been waiting a long time to win the Premier League. Didn't have the opportunity to celebrate in 2020 because it was COVID at the time. And yeah, there were thousands outside the stadium after the game, just taking it all in. And fair play to them. They've been the best team in the Premier League by far this season. Fully deserve it. And, you know, keep going the way they are, then might be another Premier League title on the way.
Yeah, I must admit, I saw the Solanke goal obviously going in, and it just felt like delaying the inevitable. It didn't feel like all Spurs are going to be party poopers kind of moment. It felt like, yeah, okay, that's just kind of slapping them in the face almost and saying, come on, and then they did, and they absolutely obliterated them. It's weird, isn't it? This season, it's just really, I think it's still, isn't it? Liverpool, Fulham, and Wolves are the only teams that have beaten Spurs by more than a goal, a single goal kind of thing. Sorry, a scoreline that's got more of a single goal lead. But Liverpool have just destroyed them. I know that we had the home first leg in the Carabao Cup in the semi-final, but all the other three games, it's 15 goals across 3 games. They've absolutely ripped them apart. And it just looked like two sides at such different stages of their development, didn't it? It just did. I mean, and also it's got to be taken into account the lineup, which we'll talk about in a second as well. But you feel like Spurs are just a team that are in a perpetual state of rebuild and kind of the hope that is sold on like what's coming next, which doesn't really ever seem to arrive. Although obviously there still could be a very happy ending to this season, and a team in Liverpool that are just about the now, aren't they? They just build for the now. I mean, they barely signed anyone, did they, in the summer? They just kind of built upon what Klopp had done, really. The foundations were already there.
I think, was it Ali Chiesa? Because, I mean, at the time in the summer, there was links with Tottenham. And I can remember we were talking on the pod and probably did articles about probably shouldn't really touch him because of his recent injuries. And he's barely played apart for them in this season's success. But yeah, it's pretty much the same squad as last year, but Arne Slot's just seems to have taken a few of the players onto a whole new level altogether. And to be fair, it could have been a lot more than 5 on the day. They had a goal shots off for offside in the first half, got into some really good positions in the second half, and Spurs' tactics just suit them down to the ground, especially when you got quick players up front like Luis Diaz, Mohamed Salah, Gakpo's good as well. And there's so much space, then they're just going to take full advantage of it. And that's exactly what they did. I thought Spurs actually started the game pretty well. To be honest, the first 15 minutes got into some good areas, and that's what Ange said in his post-match press conference. Got into some good territories, but just didn't really make full use of it. But yeah, not a lot of people would have had Spurs down to score on the day, but as I said, it was a fantastic header from Dominic Solanke, who did really well in the first place to win the corner off Ibrahima Konate. And it was pinpoint delivery from James Maddison, Solanke getting the better of Luis Diaz and then Ryan Gravenberch and heading home against his former club into the far corner. But as I also said, it was just a case of Spurs needing to keep Liverpool at bay for as long as possible. And in the end, they could only hold on for 4 minutes until Diaz equalised.
Yeah, I mean, what was the kind of feeling like in the press room when you saw the team, the lineup? Was it 8 changes?
8 changes in total. I think a lot of them were expected. I mean, we did our reporter teams the day before who we'd play, and I think we both put Mickey van der Ven in. Just a case of topping up his minutes again, because I can remember Ange said he needed to play him against Nottingham Forest. Otherwise, it'd be 10 days between the Frankfurt and the Liverpool game. If not, then it'd be 10 days between the Liverpool game and, the Forest game and the Bodo Glimt game on Thursday. So I thought Van der Ven probably would have got some minutes, but that just wasn't the case. But I think all the other changes were pretty much expected. Archie Gray midfield was a bit of a surprise because we've not really seen him there this season. And when I asked Ange about him a couple of weeks ago about the possibility of Archie playing in midfield again, he seemed to, write it off a bit. But he was given a starting spot there early on the pitch for 45 minutes. Really tough afternoon for him. But as I was saying, in terms of the other changes, probably expected because, let's be honest, he's going to rest the likes of Porro, Romero, Bentancur left out of the squad altogether, just with Thursday in mind.
Yeah, I think we both in our kind of teams, and these were our early teams, it wasn't like the predicted team of the day. I think we both went with Richarlison as a potential just to keep his minutes ticking over. And that's the thing, Van der Ven now has had that long gap between games again. It hasn't really worked, but then also watching the match and the way that players like Salah were just bursting down that side, he'd have had to do so much running. You would have had to, you've been worried about the hamstrings, about the sprints he'd have had to do. Yeah, I think I actually mentioned in one of my pieces pre-match, it was like, I would like to see Archie Gray get some minutes. I think he needs to. I presumed it'd be at right back because I think I wrote something like, you're not going to want to put Gray and Bergvall together in like a really young 19-year-old like axis of the midfield. And he did. And it was really interesting because you look at the two midfields, it's like Liverpool's midfield's, I think it's worth about 130 million, something like that. Spurs worth about 90 million, I'd say. You've got the two 40 million pounds in players in Gray and Maddison and Bergvall, who's 8.5. Let's be honest, that's an absolute bargain. I wonder what he's worth now. It's got to be like triple that, quadruple that. But it's just too young a midfield to go, and it's setting them up for a fail to go up against one of the best midfields going right now. That's a tough ask. And like you said, you've asked about Archie Gray before playing midfield. There's other games that he could have played in there to get used to playing within the Spurs system in the midfield rather than throwing him in against Liverpool. That was a little bit unfair on him. Actually, you're there. What did you make of his performance on the
day? He struggled, but I mean, that was always going to be the case coming up against what we're saying, the Premier League's best midfield three.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably have Newcastle's midfield three up there as well,
yeah.
But coming up against McAllister, Szoboszlai, and who else was in there? Gravenberch.
Yes.
But yeah, for the first goal, Szoboszlai runs off Gray pretty easy from Salah's through ball, and then he crosses for Diaz, and then the second goal, Gray unfortunately having a bit of a role in it again. Not the greatest. The passes from Matisse Tell into the corner of the area, and then Gravenberch just, outmuscles Gray, and ball ends up at McAllister's feet, and he does the rest with a really good goal. Yeah, it's just always going to be a tough afternoon coming up against a quality midfield three, but he's something he'll learn from. And I know he's coming for a bit of criticism, but you've got to remember he's a 19-year-old kid at the end of the day.
And he's going to be terrific. We can see what he's got about him. It's just, a really, on the day Liverpool are trying to win the title at home against, at Anfield with the best midfield in the Premier League, like we said, I just felt that was a huge ask to throw him in there.
Yeah, probably he doesn't say much about Bissouma, really, in Postecoglou's thinking.
It says a lot about Bissouma, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the other way, yeah.
Yeah, because, you want a holding midfielder. Surely he could have gone in and started, but there's a couple of games now he's not featured at all, which doesn't look great for him, and you've just got to wonder where his minutes are going to come from. And even he could have brought him on at half-time just to try and shore things up a bit, but no, and quite clearly doesn't have him in his thinking at the moment when it comes to that starting 11.
He's just had a wretched season, hasn't he? It just started so badly with the kind of incident that got him suspended, and he's just had so many mistakes, so many times where he just hasn't really shown anywhere near the ability he's got, and just hasn't impressed anyone. He's a senior player that's never really shown that he's a senior player, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens this summer. If there is a change in management, whether anyone else comes in and thinks that they can try and change him again, or whether the club just think with his contract kind of getting to where it is, it's just move him on kind of thing. And obviously they've got the option for Johnny Cardoso as well, haven't they, at Betis? So that could be someone that comes in. It's just a further kind of knocking him down the pecking order. Just going back to the move that Tell playing the ball across to Archie Gray. How many times have Spurs lost the ball in that position this season? It is mad. And I know it's a kind of a crucial part of their playing out from the back is to get it to a fullback or a winger who knocks it inside, and another player comes inside, tries to take it on, and you beat the press by doing that. I would be shocked if someone far better on stats than me and with knowledge of looking up all these areas of the pitch, Spurs must give that ball away 50%, at least half of the time that they try to do those passing down to the fullbacks and inside and then out. And it's just crazy because it's presenting the opposition team with the ball over and over again on the edge of your own box. The other main one they do, isn't it, is playing it to a midfielder drops back and the midfielder spins the ball out to the fullback. So that one's probably more successful, but I just feel any time that they try and play it into the fullbacks and then inside, it just seems to have such a higher rate of failure. And that's something, if it's not working in a system and the opposition have figured it out and they know that it's going to come there, you've got to adapt. You've got to change the way you're playing the ball around the press. And I just think that's been a massive Achilles heel for them this season. And give a team like Liverpool the ball in those situations. So many of their finishes were terrific as well yesterday. They were so clinical. But it's not to say, they just shot really well, that's why they won. They could have had a load more, like you said. It was utterly dominant and not really the best preparation in the world for Thursday night, other than making sure players are fresh. That was about it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there was much Guglielmo Vicario could really do about any of the 5 goals, to be honest. And going back to the third one, the first 2 goals were poor ones to concede. This was bad as well. Bergvall not getting a really convincing header on McAllister's corner, and then Gakpo just shrugging off Brennan Johnson with ease in the area. And I think Dominic Solanke probably could have done more in terms of trying to get a foot in before Gakpo let fly. But it's just a sign of what we've seen all season from Tottenham, just poor defending, and other teams have profited, and Liverpool just took full advantage yesterday.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, there's part of me that wonders, is it a case of not wanting to put your foot in case you get injured and you're out of a European semi-final? But it's not, because we've seen it so much this season. This kind of really half-hearted kind of effort going into challenges and trying to stop people around the box. The amount of times players have dribbled into Tottenham's box or the edge of it, it's so easy for them. It was kind of the game went kind of played out as many expected it to, yet that didn't really stop it from being as disappointing as it was. It was just the worst preparation for Thursday night. I really thought that it was just kind of, there was no kind of morale boosting element to it other than Solanke scoring. They didn't really get a few little half chances it wore on, but it didn't really create enough to show the amount they're going to have to create on Thursday night. Because, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but they've got to build up some kind of lead. I know it's a huge if and an ask because Bodo Glimt have had a terrific kind of campaign in Europe and they're a tough team to beat. But Bodo Glimt potentially going to be missing 5-6 of their key players on Thursday night. Spurs have got to rack up some kind of lead if possible to take to what has been one of the most difficult European away stadiums for anyone this season. So yeah, this was not the attack's confidence booster it could have been, and that's just reminded me. I saw it towards the end, just as it was heading off the game towards its conclusion. What did Richarlison do at the end? Did he just get really annoyed that he got like wound up? Someone passed the ball around him. Was it Harvey Elliott? I can't remember who it was now.
Yeah, Harvey Elliott ended up pushing him and then saying something to him and holding his fingers up. I think it was, a lot of fans were saying it's to do with 30 years since Everton won a trophy, holding a 3-up
but before
and
before that, I think Elliott did a bit of skill on Richarlison, and Richarlison hated that and just like span round and grabbed him and like pushed him away. Yeah, I think the other thing was after that, but yeah, I just thought I know you like to do like a player cam, almost just watching your guy constantly.
I didn't see that bit. I did see the bit where Elliott ended up pushing him. But I think he just got come on frustrated anyway, given the scoreline, given his connections with Everton. Everyone was booing him when he was on the ball as well. But
I think he said something afterwards about the 3 or 30 or something, like maybe he wants to reach, is it 30 career goals or 3? I can't remember what he said now.
I don't know.
He's put something on. He likes a response on social media, doesn't he?
He does. So a couple of the changes from Spurs at halftime was Dejan Kulusevski and Pat Matasar coming on for Archie Gray and James Maddison. Maddison won. Maybe a bit of a surprise because I thought he was one of Spurs' better players on the day in terms of
protecting him, though.
Yeah, I think he was pretty much what it was with Romero and Van der Ven against Forest. I think it was pre-planned because Ange said after the game, everyone got through unscathed, no injury issues at all. So I think it was, it's just protecting him. But Maddison in the final third tried to make things happen when he was on the ball, looked to invent things. I thought he was a positive on the day, a rare positive. Let's be honest, but again, Ange and Spurs just have one eye on Thursday's game against Bodo Glimt now and just wrapping up those plays in cotton wool.
Did Decky and Sarr have any real impact in your view? Sarr had an effort, didn't he? He sent like an effort mile wide. I remember that one.
Yeah. Decky had an impact for Liverpool's 4th goal.
Right.
Yeah, he was running towards the Liverpool box. Jed Spence, really good run on the overlap in good space to pass him the ball, and then he could have played it across the area. But Decky just kept delaying it, and in the end, Liverpool robbed them of possession. And I think it was 4-on-4 on the counter attack. Salah finished it off. Jed Spence was fuming. He was fuming at the time that he didn't get the ball, and then once Salah had found the back of the net, and Jed was on the halfway line, and he like stuck his hands out in front of him, like gesturing angry, like, why didn't you pass me the ball there? And it proved costly. Liverpool took full advantage, and that's probably the one team you don't want to lose the ball to on the edge of their box, because they've just got players who will hit you at speed, and that's exactly what they did. So Kulusevski didn't really have an impact, and it's always going to be hard for Sarr coming on in midfield up against it. Liverpool just running through them time and time again, but I suppose they've got more minutes in the legs ahead of Thursday.
I felt sorry for Destiny Doggy. He just looked like just like kind of trying to put his finger in a dam like that, a leak in it to try and stop all the water coming through, and it just was never going to work.
No, I mean, you've got Salah, you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold on that side of the pitch. It's always going to be a huge ask trying to nullify them both, given the seasons like Salah's had in terms of the numbers he's contributed this season. It's been absolutely incredible. Maybe Premier League Player of the Year, come the end of it,
Yeah.
PFA Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just skipped past a Doggy with ease for the fourth goal, and then, I mean, there's not much he can really do for the fifth one, because even if he leaves it, the ball's ending up in the net with Salah tapping it home. But tough afternoon for him, but I'd still expect him to be in the starting 11 against Bodo Glimt, because I think it was Tottenham's best player over the two legs against Eintracht Frankfurt,
Yeah.
and Ange seems to favour his first choice back four of Pedro Porro, Christian Mero, Mickey van der Ven, and Destiny Doggy. So I imagine he keeps his place in the team, but if he drops out, there's Jed Spencer coming.
Yeah, I did feel sorry for Doggy because, I mean, he had Madison and Tell ahead of him, who are not going to probably provide the most defensive cover in the world. So it did feel like he was dealing with everything that was flying at him. And funnily enough, Jed Spencer's probably done the best so far against Salah for Spurs, hasn't he? Kind of on that side previously, but I don't think Jed's been quite at the levels he was. I think he has dipped a little bit, but to be fair, kind of so the team, of course. I don't know whether I don't know. I don't know what the reason for that is. Whether he's kind of met the challenge that was set for him, and now it's kind of almost I don't know. I don't know how he's reacting to it, or it could just be again, like we say before, he's playing on the right rather than the left. Doesn't suit him quite as well. I would imagine the same. I think it'll be Porro and a Doggy on Thursday night. I think he does like the balance that brings. And it was just weird. I mean, essentially, there was the spine of the team was taken out, wasn't it? And Romero, Van der Ven, Bentancur, and Porro's been the near ever present this season as well. I mean, he's played like ridiculous. I think it's almost 3,800 minutes, something like that this season. So you have lost a lot of the foundation of that team. There's no excuse not for being incredibly fresh for Thursday night's game. I suppose, like we said, the only issue is if you go into the territory of having not played for too long, and you start to lose a little bit of your sharpness and rhythm. It's a tough balancing act, but yeah, just a really disappointing day at Anfield. And how quickly did you try to escape the celebrations at the final whistle?
As soon as the final whistle went, I just had a look towards the away end with the players going over. As soon as a few of them had headed there and gone off, I was straight down to.
You threw your flare down onto the pitch and ran into the press corps.
Yeah, didn't really want to sit around and watch those celebrations because we were both there in 2019 watching Liverpool lift the Champions League trophy. So, but like you said at the start, the pod, fair play to them. They won the league, enjoyed the celebrations. I'd like to be involved in celebrations like that for my team. I can't see it happening in my lifetime in terms of a league title, but you'll feel the same way as well. That's what you want to experience, and they're taking full advantage of it after not having that opportunity in 2020. And I'm sure a few of them had a really good night and maybe didn't turn up for work this morning.
Yes, I presume you're talking about the supporters rather than the players.
Yes.
How many? This is a question that was asked to me on social media because I wasn't there. How many went down? Were there a lot in the press conference after? Did Ange come out first? How did it work? Did he come down while they were celebrating, or what?
I think the celebrations on the pitch were going on for quite some time, and I think a lot of the media wanted to probably stick around and do their reports around it, because let's be honest, they're gonna soak up it all. Players and staff are going to be on the pitch for quite some time, and always expected Ange to be out pretty quickly, but I think he had a lot of media to do because there was a lot of TV companies from around the world at the game yesterday, recording live from Anfield. And yeah, I was the first one in the press conference room after the game, and I think there was probably about, I don't know, 7 or 8 journos in there, maybe. Once Ange had arrived, but Ange might maybe arrived 15 minutes after the full-time whistle, and I think there was 4.
Reasonably quick.
Yeah, I think there was 4 of us asking questions.
It's not going to be the main story, is it? That's the thing.
No, and exactly, that's it. Arne Slot, there'll have been loads in for his press conference once he came in, because, as you said, that's the main story. Liverpool have won the Premier League title, but yeah, there was a handful of us in. It wasn't just one person in, like some have maybe suggested.
Yeah, I think it's because one journalist popped out an early photo of the press conference room before others had got in, and I think people just expected that was it. But to be fair, this is the thing. I kind of, for us, and obviously people listening to this podcast, it's about Spurs. We see everything about Spurs, but even we kind of have to admit, with the national journalists, there's only one story, and it's not Spurs losing a game that wasn't their most important game this week. It's about, Liverpool winning the title again. And yes, it was always going to be a reasonably empty one. And I think quite a few of the regulars weren't really at the game either, were there? In terms of Spurs reporting journos, just you and I think Dan Kilpatrick was there from the Standard. Any other?
No, that was it in terms of Spurs regulars. A couple of the nationals who report on Spurs at times, but that was it. It was a Liverpool-dominated press box on Sunday.
Yes. Were they celebrating like they did in Madrid?
No, they weren't as bad as that. Thankfully.
There's a lot of terrific journalists that cover Liverpool, and we know some of them. They're fantastic, but that is the first time that I've actually seen journalists like celebrating in a press box. It was quite something. Even in Ajax, when Lucas Moura scored that third goal, I was still like bashing away on my keyboard kind of thing, trying to frantically change everything I'd been writing. But yeah, look, like you said, if you're a big Liverpool fan, you've got to enjoy these moments anyway. But yeah, it just felt from the outside, looking in on my little phone screen outside a coffee shop near Holborn Station, that it was just a game that nobody was particularly that bothered about from a Spurs perspective. It was just, let's get through it. We're probably going to get tonked. We did. Move on to Thursday, and that's kind of just felt like it.
Yeah, proper end of season game, really, because let's be honest, Spurs aren't going to finish anywhere decent in the Premier League table now. I think the one thing they need to avoid is finishing 17th, and Sunday's game at West Ham might have a huge bearing on that, because West Ham are just behind them in the Premier League table at the moment. Luckily, West Ham lost late on against Brighton the other day, but yeah, full focus on the Europa League for now. But Spurs still need to perform in the Premier League, because you could get some momentum from that going into the European games. So they're going to be key. Before we talk about the Bodo Glimt game and also the upcoming Aston Villa game, which there's a big question mark surrounding, now we're going to talk about the benefits of using NordVPN. And Alasdair, you can take us away as usual.
Yeah, talking of Nord, I said earlier about the marathon and people shouting out stuff. One of the things that was shouted at me that made me laugh the most, and it's quite difficult to laugh when you're kind of running. I think I was about mile 17 or 18 then. Someone shouted out from the crowd, "Ali, do it for Nord," and it just threw me off completely. I was like, I didn't trip over. It was just like the most random thing. Everyone else probably running marathon was thinking, "Oh, like thinking is Nord someone that's died? They're running in their honor kind of thing, their memory." But no, it is NordVPN. It's very cool to kind of have a podcast listener there pushing me on. And yes, I mean, we're doing this for Nord. That certainly is doing this for Nord. And it is, as I always say, the fastest VPN in the world. And that means there's no buffering, no lagging, and you can stream your favorite shows from anywhere in the world without your bandwidth throttling. I didn't use it during the marathon, only because I didn't get my phone out on the marathon until I watched the game afterwards. Actually, I could have switched it on because I was using public Wi-Fi at the time, so I could have used it just to help slightly, to a degree, to stop nasty people taking stuff off of your phone when you're using the public Wi-Fi. But there's so much more to NordVPN. You can use it for streaming shows from abroad, booking things like hotels, holidays, concerts, flights, making your phone think it's in a completely different country. You can do it the other way. You can be abroad and switch your phone or devices, laptops, tablets, anything to thinking they're back home in the UK. And that can allow you to access all of the streaming services and things like that you pay for back at home that for some pesky reason they restrict you from using when you're abroad, but a VPN can get around that. So many other things you can use it for. And on top of all of that, to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/goldguest. That link will give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan that you get with it. There's no risk either with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And in case you missed that podcast link, that special exclusive podcast link, it's in the episode description box.
Right, let's talk about Tottenham's upcoming fixture against Aston Villa, which is scheduled for Sunday, May the 18th. Bit of talk surrounding that game yesterday as Tottenham issued a statement on Sunday morning. The statement read, "We should like to inform supporters that we're in discussions with the Premier League regarding a change in date to our Premier League match against Aston Villa, currently scheduled for Sunday, May the 18th. Further information surrounding this fixture will be announced in due course." Now, the issue for Spurs with the fixture, as it's currently penciled in, is if Tottenham reach the Europa League final by beating Bodo Glimt over 2 legs, the final in Bilbao will be played on Wednesday, May the 21st. So if the Villa fixture stays as it is, there's next to no preparation time for Spurs going into the Europa League final. And let's be honest, if you're playing on Sunday, May the 18th, there's no specified kickoff time yet. It's either 2:15 or 7 p.m. We're waiting for confirmation on that, but that will come when a date is probably officially confirmed, given Spurs' request for a bit of a change with that one. But yeah, if you're playing in a Europa League final on Wednesday, you're playing on the Sunday before, there's no time for training. Let's be honest, because Monday's going to be a rest day, and Tuesday you're heading off to Bilbao.
Yeah, it can't remain where it is. It just can't. And if it does, the whole kind of sanctity of the competition, is that the expression, is gone, because Spurs will have to play a shadow 11. They'll just put out fringe players, kids. There's no way on earth you put any player that's going to feature in that final into a game against Villa. And this isn't a meaningless game for Villa. You know, they're going for 5th place. They're, you know, they want to be trying to get every point they possibly can. And look, if I'm Villa, I'm probably thinking, no, let's keep it roughly where it is, because Spurs are probably going to have to put out a kind of the kids or the fringe players, and that's going to help us. But, you know, all the other teams racing for the top 5, top 4 are probably furious at the possibility of that. So it's got to move. And there's so, we were looking at this, there's so many kind of different sides to it. Spurs are looking at various options they've kind of presented to the Premier League to move it to. One of those has been a potential Thursday fixture. Villa, it seems, are opposed to it, which, like I said, kind of makes sense. There's another side to it. They've apparently have also got all of these family events planned for their final home game of the season, which you can't do if it's a night game, because presumably kids might not be up at that time of night. I think there's some people that are saying that Villa have rejected it flatly and outright, but I don't think it works like that. I think Villa can oppose it. Spurs can kind of be in favour of it. Then it's down to the Premier League to decide on it based on other kind of stakeholder information, I guess, broadcasters, police, everyone else that's involved in these things. But there's another side to it all as well that, let's say, and again, we must stress, we are very much saying it's a big if, it's potentially. We're not saying that Spurs are definitely going to be in that final. This is Tottenham Hotspur. They're very much capable of not being in that final. And they're playing a team that have done so well this season, despite the fact that they're going to be missing potentially so many players through suspension or injury for the first game. But if, let's say, there's a chance that Spurs and United both go through to the final, United are playing Friday night at Chelsea. They'll have 2 extra days compared to Spurs. That looks awful if the Premier League allows one of their teams to have an unfair advantage going into a European final. And talking of kind of allowing one of your teams, we were talking about this earlier. So many leagues across Europe make the best possible scenario for their teams when they're playing in Europe, because it benefits the league. It showcases the league better. We saw it with AZ Alkmaar early in the season. The Eredivisie kind of worked around them. Currently, Bilbao Athletic Club, if they get through to the final, there's all plans in place apparently for their final games to change. I think they're playing against Valencia on the Sunday. That will move to the Saturday at least if they get through, if not earlier. Their previous game against Getafe will be moved backwards as well. So it just feels like, and this is something Premier League managers have constantly moaned about, every other league out there makes a real kind of effort to try and help their teams in Europe. The Premier League are just like, yeah, we're massive, whatever. we don't need your help to promote our league. And they just don't seem to bother about it. The amount of times that a team will be in Europe and they'll have like a late Sunday game, and then they'll have like an afternoon kickoff sometimes, on the Sunday or something like that. And it's just, this one, I know Villa have got some issues with it, but ultimately, while yes, they've played in April every 3 to 4 days like Spurs had before because they were Champions League, FA Cup and everything, in May it's spread out like anything. They've got a game like every 7 to 8 days. They can afford to move it slightly. They're just going to have to unfortunately sort out this family event stuff. It would be mad not to change it. I do think it opens up all kinds of doors for potential issues, and I'm sure some would claim that United have a bias, so there'd be a bias. There'd be favouritism towards United if both teams got through and they were playing 2 days later. It just opens too many doors to problems to not move it.
Yeah, what we've not mentioned is that weekend on the Saturday, it's the FA Cup final, Manchester City against Crystal Palace. They want that as a standalone fixture, so no Premier League games on that day. So that's why every game is on the Sunday that weekend, barring Chelsea against Manchester United, which is Friday night. And I think the reason that's only moved to the Friday is because the Women's FA Cup final between Chelsea and Manchester United is taking place on the Sunday afternoon. So
best case scenario would have been Villa getting through to the final, wouldn't it?
Exactly, and then the game would have to be played, I think, on the Wednesday. But Villa lost against Palace. So it's got to be moved to either the Thursday or the Friday.
Yeah,
but
it just has to.
We'll wait and see. I look forward to seeing that team, the Tottenham team, if the game is taking place on the Sunday.
Should we take our boots?
Good chance. Might as well.
I'm not sure there's a good chance, but I appreciate your optimism.
Because, I mean, it was a few years ago where Liverpool put out a team of kids against Villa in the League Cup because they were playing in the Club World Cup at the time abroad, and they ended up losing 5-0, and Spurs may do the same again. And let's be honest, if they do that, I know people are questioning the integrity, and especially those in the fight for a Champions League.
Integrity, that's the word I was looking for.
But the players are part of your 25-man squad or the under-21 list, so they're all registered.
Yeah, it's still got a look to it, though, isn't it?
It does.
I forgot to mention, by the way, that didn't the Liverpool defeat equal the record now of defeats in a season at this stage or something?
Yeah, I think so. 19 defeats, is it now, in the Premier League, which is terrible.
So it's horrendous. Absolutely dreadful. It's such a shameful total.
It is, and unfortunately, I think there might be a couple more to add to that.
Yep.
Especially if the Villa game does remain a Sunday. And then you've got Brighton, who might need the points on the final day in the fight for Europe. Spurs don't fare well.
The West Ham game, it's almost a battle to not finish 17th. But it's a game that comes at a time that Spurs won't really care about it.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, the Spurs don't fare well at the London Stadium at all. Nope. I think the last win there was Jose Mourinho's first game when Delhi scored. Long time ago, that.
Yeah, a lot of things are a long time ago, unfortunately, Spurs. But hopefully that changes.
Right then, so Bodo Glimt, Thursday night, huge game in Tottenham season. Need to build up a decent lead heading into the game in Norway. But the Norwegian side have sprung quite a few surprises in the Europa League this season. Good results against Porto and Braga, I think, in the league phase. Gave United a bit of a scare as well at Old Trafford. In Ruben Amorim's first game, beat Lazio last time out in the quarterfinals when no one expected them to win. This is going to be a really tough one. And, I mean, in terms of the Tottenham team, I mean, we pretty much pick it now. other than Son? Question marks over him. Ange was asked about him in an interview with BBC yesterday, and he said he's going to be touch and go for the game. Not sure yet. If he's not available for the first leg, then he'll be available for the second leg.
Interesting, because he was talking about his improvement pre-match, wasn't he? I wonder if he's either had a setback or they've just decided, well, let's keep a bit of mystery around it, and then he's like on the bench on Thursday.
Yeah, what he said, I've got the quote here. It'll be touch and go for Thursday. He'll try hard. Basically, if he's not ready for the first game, we think he'll be ready for the second game.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know Matisse Tell didn't particularly play well at Anfield, but it kind of feels like maybe the position's his at the moment. He's kind of, especially in the European games, has played well.
Yeah, I think he'll start if Son's not starting. He was lively at times yesterday. Not a lot coming off for him in the final third, but he's been a regular in the starting 11 in recent weeks, and I think we're starting to see glimpses of what he can offer. So I imagine he'll be in the front three, and I think Decky will probably move into the front three on the right wing as well, with Solanke in there. Then you've got that midfield three of Maddison, Bergvall, and Rodrigo Bentancur.
Yeah, I do think it mostly picks itself, really. It's probably, it probably just is the left wing that's the one, maybe. I think you have to play Decky on the right wing. It's whether it's Odebear, Johnson, or Tell, I suppose, on that left. I think Tell probably gets the gig right now. Odebear hasn't quite looked sharp and fit yet after his little spell out. Johnson, I don't think is as good on the left. I don't think he's as much of a threat in terms of goals on the left. But yeah, they've also, like I said earlier, they've got their issues. Bodo Glimt, they what looked on paper like a really good preparation for the game. They won 3-0 at home on Sunday against KFUM. But it came at a cost because Odin Bjortoft, who's their centre-back, who's pretty much been a near ever-present for every game and played really well in European games, came off in the 54th minute holding his groin. It did not look good. So that's potentially another one. And bear in mind, they're already missing the captain, Patrick Berg, to suspension, accumulation of yellow cards. Same for Hakon Agen, his midfield partner. Andreas Helmerson, who scored that goal against Lazio, is also banned after he got sent off in the last round. Ole Blomberg, their winger, also picked up an injury that he missed yesterday's game. So, yeah, they could have a massive kind of spine of their team out of the game on Thursday night, but Spurs have got to take advantage. They can't do what they did. I know they had a brilliant second leg in Frankfurt, but they can't do what they did in the first leg in Frankfurt and just kind of squander loads of opportunities and chances. They've got to go with a commanding lead because, I was looking at their home form, Bodo Glimt in Europe this season. Do you know the only team to have beaten them at home this season?
In Europe?
Yes, I should say that. It's an unexpected one, perhaps.
Go on.
Qarabag.
Oh, really?
Yeah, early on. I think it was their second game in the competition this season. Qarabag won. I think it was 2-1. Other than that, pretty much they've beaten everyone at home. I worry that there's this little bit of an underestimating of how good they've been this season, how organised they are. They play some good football. They can score against anyone. I hope no one kind of just assumes. I think there's some maybe national journalists that haven't been kind of covering Spurs or checked in on Bodo Glimt this season. They've kind of been like, well, Spurs are through to the final. It's like, no. There are so many ways that they might not be. They've got to really put everything into these two games. Otherwise, they can't afford to make all the mistakes they've been making in the league this season.
Yeah. You looking forward to your trip to Norway for the following
Do you know what?
week?
I am because it's a place I've never been to before. There's this added thing that the sun sets at like 11 at night and rises at 3:30 a.m. So I've got this kind of weird thing where there's very little actual darkness. So the game will be played in the light, even though it's going to be kicking off at 9 o'clock at night. It's going to be very, very strange. A bit like the movie Insomnia, which I'm presuming you haven't seen.
No.
Al
Absolutely
Pacino,
not.
Robin Williams, Christopher Nolan movie. Oh, that's so disappointing. It's a good film, but yes, essentially that is Al Pacino, a detective, slowly going mad because he's trying to sleep every night, and it's bright light, sunlight outside. So that may be me. It'll either be Spurs or the daylight that will send me mad. But no, I am looking forward to it. It's quite a small stadium. You know, it's only got like 8,700 capacity. So I can imagine that would also have a knock-on effect with the Spurs fans going, that there's not going to be many of those able to get tickets. I'm also wondering how much of a press area they've got, but presumably Lazio sent a fair few journalists, so maybe they'll squeeze us in somewhere. But yeah, they've just got to do the job in the first leg, and then second leg, just do a professional job like they did in Frankfurt.
Yeah, when you're in Norway, need you to try something, need some feedback. A couple of years ago on that Footy Scran Twitter account, or X
Yeah.
account now, Bodo Glimt to sell sausage water. So I need you to try that.
What?
Yeah, the water
That
they
sounds
put
like
the sausages in. Yeah,
oh, it sounds like what's in a jar of like hot dogs that you get in a
yeah,
shop.
yeah.
I do quite like herring and stuff like that. I think they do that in Norway, don't they? But I'd rather have that in Sweden, Scandinavian countries. Yeah, I might not try the sausage water. It doesn't sound incredibly appealing, but maybe I'll get some sent to you so you can have it.
Yes. Right, that's it for today's latest episode of Golden Guest Tottenham. Big week coming up for Spurs. Bodo Glimt on
Huge.
Thursday, West Ham at the London Stadium on Sunday. So we'll be back soon for the next episode, and fingers crossed some positive results to talk about in the world of Tottenham Hotspur, and hopefully some confirmation regarding that Aston Villa fixture, because tickets are need to go on sale and supporters are going to have to plan their route to Villa Park. So in the meantime, just keep with us at football.london for all your latest Tottenham news. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/goldguest. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box.